Hello, hello. How you all doing? Hope everyone is good. Welcome. It is Friday. I was about to say it's Thursday. Yeah, here we are. Better late than never. Okay. Lovely model today, but she really kind of lends herself, in my opinion, to more kind of anatomical approach. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to focus on the upper and lower torsos. So for those of you who have access to the reference, you'll notice that there's two of each image. There's one that is the full figure, obviously, and then there's one that focuses on the upper and the lower torso. I did that for all of our benefits, but as I said, for me, I want to focus on those upper and lower torso relationships and the anatomical ideas there within. So yeah, let's get cracking, huh? Let me know the usual, if the sound's okay and all the rest. But yeah, we'll get going on this fine Friday. I'm going to start with what will probably be a 15 to 20. I'm going to go longer, I think, on a couple of these. We may not get through all of these poses too, just FYI. So it will all depend on how things go. Yeah, let me know if, turn the music up a tiny bit. See how that is. All right. There's our timer. I'm going to lose my earpiece. Okay. Shoulders. Let's find this long rhythmical idea for the back. Upper torso. So it's kind of going this way. And this leg going forward, like so. Our eye line is interestingly right around, give or take, where the navel is. So we are kind of looking up at this, at the upper torso. So things are, to some degree, we're getting this kind of sense, you know, if we were looking at this as kind of like a cylinder. Maneuvering is sitting right, like we're not seeing any of that kind of cutout for the neck because we're looking up. So the maneuvering is actually kind of at the top of this box. Clavicle going this way. Coming down the sternum. Arch of the rib cage as well. Roughly about here. Face is sitting about here. You can see a hint of that oblique kind of sitting on top of the aces there. So in that region there. Same on this side. Oblique kind of coming down this way, giving us that abdominal wall. Just by building in the obliques, we kind of get the abdominal wall for free, which is nice. Adrenal ligament. it's a fasciolate sitting in here. Region. Gluteus medius right next to it. Okay. Navel. Okay. Hey Lulu, if you want to shoot me an email, I can send you the link. Okay, upper arm sitting here, forearm. So we've got her wrist is sitting right about here. This particular track is a tad loud. I can turn that down a little. Let me know if that's better. Any snow in your area? Any snow in my area? Are you asking me, Heather? No, not in my area. You know, though, we did get snow. We got a dusting of snow about, what was it, about a week ago? Highly unusual for this time of year. But it was very short-lived. All right, Lulu. Well, look, if you change your mind, just shoot me an email. You know, you help me out with the modding of the channel. It's the least I can do is hook you up with the reference. Okay, so breast. Sitting in here. And sitting about there. So if the breast is here, we can see that the wrist is sitting right about here for the right hand. Love the way this hand is kind of draped down too. Or upper arm kind of coming towards us, right? Quite a bit of foreshortening on that upper arm. Deltoid sitting in here. Little pad of the hand there. We'll maybe suggest that a little bit more in a minute. Yeah, look, Lulu, don't mess around. Message me. Please, let me send you the reference. Don't want you sitting here without it. Okay, thumb. Something about there. It's tonal cladomastoid trapezius. Cylinder of the neck. Something about there. Then we can see, the clavicle kind of going down this way, but then transitioning into the pectoral, and then into the breast, and then the deltoid, just jutting out here. Something like that. See under her jaw there. A tiny bit. Something. All right. Now, ASIS is here once again. Tensor fasciolate sitting in here. Sartorius coming down this way. You're all good, Lulu. Don't give it a second thought. It's all good. James says, I need to start drawing my figures bigger. You can see the volumes on yours so much better. James, I don't know how big you are drawing, but I can't recommend enough that you draw a minimum, in my opinion, a minimum of A3. You need to give yourself the real estate to be able to draw. If you're drawing small, you know, drawing detail is only going to get harder. Also, when you're drawing that little bit larger, you can really draw from the shoulder and from the elbow. That's going to be extremely difficult if you're drawing tiny little figures. I think the drawing bigger thing is really, really instrumental. in your development, especially if you're struggling or you're looking for a fresh approach. It's really, really important. Makes life so much easier. I think that it's at the risk of belaboring the point, I think it's one of the single most important things you can do, is draw larger. It'll feel a bit strange at first. You know what also happens, I've noticed, is especially those that are kind of still, you know, closer to the beginning of their journey, they lack confidence. People lack confidence, and when you lack confidence, drawing bigger is kind of like the opposite of what you feel you want to do. We tend to, you know, when we're timid or shy with our drawing, we tend to want to draw small. We've got the pectoral across the form here. I think this arm should have actually been a little bit higher when I'm measuring off the volume of the breast here. That elbow, that wrist is really kind of up here. I'm going to leave it because it doesn't break the drawing where I have it. It just means that I've drawn it in a slightly different place to the reference. But as we're not being slaves to the reference, I'm not going to worry about it too much. So, oblique coming up this way. Coming up. And we're meeting up with the latissimus coming in this region in here. Margie, you had snow. Are you UK based? I think you are, right? Yeah, the temperatures are all over the place. Like yesterday was super mild. Today it's chilled right back down. It is December though. It is to be expected. Coming up to the clavicle. From this angle, this feels a little bit weird, but it is right. Makes sense. Plus, our model is really quite muscular. Figures 18 by 24. Yeah, I think ideally, right? And even with that, Whitney, I would say, I think this is 24. If memory serves. Yeah, it looks, I think that's 24. But even like if I was painting, you know, like yes, you could paint a full figure at this size, but if I was painting, I would want to probably be drawing at this scale. So even then, 24, I might want to, if I was doing a full figure, I might want to go up to like 36, you know? You just give you, once again, you know, more real estate, I believe the easier it is. oblique rib cage. Yeah, we've got we've got a very lean but muscular model tonight, and this is a reference pack that Grafit Studio just bought out, and I just kind of really liked the dynamics of, you know, the between the anatomy and yet the kind of femininity, right? So you know, I'll tell you something. I don't know, you know, how many of you are in the model pack buying realm, but this was a fantastic pack. Obviously we're only doing 5 poses from it, but for anyone that's looking to buy a model pack that wants something with some really interesting poses, like we've got a few for tonight, but you know, it's one of those things. This is a model that I think we'll be coming back to a fair bit, because just so many interesting poses in the pack. Picking was actually really quite difficult, like as far as, you know, you want to kind of do them all. Going to get into some core shadows, I think. Oh, you're in the USA, Margie. Okay. Whitney says, in addition, using an easel and engaging the entire arm is life-changing. This is where I kind of disagree, Whitney, if I may. Engaging the entire arm, I think, is really important. Now, here's the thing. I do think there's a distinction to be made between drawing and painting. My issue with the easel is, when you're drawing like this, the shoulder is under constant tension. And I believe as a result of that, there is a certain amount of accuracy that you give up with the arm being constantly up. I'm drawing from the arm here, but my arm is relaxed and there's no tension in my shoulder consequently. For me, that is, at least for me, that is a better fit. I don't like drawing on the easel personally, and I think that for those starting out, I don't think the easel's necessarily a good way to go. But that's just my opinion. I've been drawing figures on 18 by 24, not big enough. Large figure page, what I'm going to shoot for. Yeah, you know, 20. This is 18 by. Well, this is 24. Probably is 18 actually. My ruler's over there. I'm not going to grab it. Anyway, yeah. Richard, would it be okay if Margot sends me the link on Discord so you don't sidetrack? Yes, of course. Yes, that's fine. Please, that's very kind. Thank you. Hey, Rick. Yeah. Okay, let's hit some core shadows. we at? Oh, we're at 23 minutes. I said this was going to be like a 15, didn't I? Sorry about that, guys. I'm kind of a little bit all over the place today, if I'm honest. So you're going to just have to be patient with me. Let's find. Shoulder pain is the pits. Shoulder strain. Very good. Oh, I hope you're doing okay, James. What would be a better way to go for beginners? Tuli, I'm assuming that you're asking with regards to what we were talking about. I would say pretty much a board, if that is what you're asking about. A board resting on your lap, I believe, is the fastest way to get a good setup going. Very, very quickly and easily and cheaply. And if I wasn't drawing for the stream, I would literally just be resting a board on my lap against the table. You don't need fancy drawing boards or any of that. Not for this anyway. Which is one of the lovely things about this type of drawing. It really doesn't require a whole lot. A pencil, some newsprint, and a piece of hardboard, or even as a scrap piece of wood from the shed, and you're sorted. All right. Just a couple more minutes here and we'll wrap this one up. Shift pencils, lock in my turn with this one. Seems obvious to me, but not everybody. Whatever you set up your place, your light opposite of your hand drawing. Yes, that's ideal. Yeah, she's an interesting model, right? Great. Um, Sim says my grandpa built a drawing table back in the day when he passed. Took it out in the basement. That started your journey. Lovely. Yeah, look, I especially during my traditional animation days, you know, I would draw on a purpose-built table with the whole angled board and everything. There's absolutely a place for it. I guess my point is there should be no kind of barrier to entry, right? Like, if you've got a drawing table and you like working on it, fantastic. All you really need is a piece of MDF and something to lean it against, you know? Ishan, long time no see. Hope you're well. Call it there, I think, for this one. Yeah, that went on way longer than I had planned. Anyway, such is life. Okay. Move on. All right, yeah, so once again, second pose, I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to use the second of these poses. Going to zoom in slightly and just focus on that upper torso, lower torso, and those fantastic arms. I'm actually half tempted to go into landscape mode for this one. I think I will, just to give those arms the breathing space that they need. Let's do that. Quick sip of tea. It's a civilized society after all. How have I been? Or how has Lulu been? I can only speak for myself. I've been good, thanks, Mishan. Hope you're well. Energy drink. Careful with that stuff. Okay. Sorry, I'm reading. I'm getting distracted. Let me reset the clock. Let's go. So yeah, that's because you know, with a pose like this, if we want to get into the idea of what's the story of the pose, it really is these fantastic arms, isn't it? To a very great extent. Let's find her spine. you're just beginning, I would strongly recommend that you draw the entire figure so that you can really get a sense of the relationships between why is this pelvis, or why are things tilting the way they are. When you draw it like something like an upper and lower torso in isolation, unless you've got some experience, it's not to say you can't do it, but you'll find that you'll understand the relationships between forms better if you're drawing the entire figure. Okay, just going to sit roughly there. And the oblique sitting on top of the iliac crest there. More of a stretch on this side. Butterfly motif for gluteus. Sitting roughly in there. I'll be doing the same pose, but closer view. Heather, I've included both a close-up and obviously the full figure. It's entirely up to you. I included both so that you had the choice. I'm focusing on the tighter close-ups, so I want to focus on the upper and the lower torso. But if you want to draw the full figure, you have that option. Oh, thank you, Rick. Very kind of you, and much appreciated. So let's look at her arms. Look at the way that the scapula, her shoulder blades, are both kind of compressed in towards the spine here. Right, now, you could make an argument the left one's slightly less so than the right, but they're both kind of pushing kind of in this direction, right? Now, if we look at where the arms, how are we going to plot our arms, right? So scapula coming out this way. We know the head of the humerus is going to be sitting about here and here. And we want to try and capture that asymmetry of these two arms. This one coming out this way. Coming down like so. Wrist is sitting right about here. Hand coming down, doing something like that. Just for now, that'll do us. Keep it as a stick figure while we just plot the other arm. So we're not following the order of the photos. We are, Heather. We are following the order. So for each pose, there is the full figure, and there's then the next photo is the close-up of the same photo. Then the next pose is the full figure and the close-up, and you can pick between each one whether you want to do the close-up or the full figure. Okay? But we are on the second pose, and I'm doing the close-up version of the second pose right now. So this arm is kind of going a little bit more out. In both cases, the upper arm is kind of coming slightly towards us, less so, slightly less so in this case. But I'm even like kind of looking, where is this elbow? And coming down this way. This one is about here. And then this arm is kind of coming down this way. And the wrist is sitting about here. Okay. Deltoid sitting in here. Something like that. Lower lumbar muscles. Sitting here. Now there's a lot of business, right? We'll talk about naming all the muscles and whether or not that's something we need to ultimately do. And we were talking last week about the forearms, and I was saying how there's 8 muscles of the forearms. I don't particularly know the names of them. There are 4 muscles in the scapula, the shoulder blade. Those ones I made a very specific point of understanding because they're so instrumental in kind of making sense of what's going on with the scapula and all the different business that's going on here. So, you know, it's case dependent, right, on how much of this stuff we take on ourselves to kind of learn and understand. So let me just talk about a little thing, especially for those of you who have the reference in front of you. Let's look at a few of these squiggles in this region, right? So we've plotted in roughly where our scapula is, here and here. Now we've got what looks like this weird S-type shape squiggle going on here. That is the trapezius, right? So it starts up here at the occipital ridge, comes down, meets up with the ridge of the scapula, comes across here, and then it actually, if it was all relaxed, it would just be coming down almost like in a V shape, down here and here, kind of like that, right? But because it's under tension, and because of the way it's interacting with the other muscles of the scapula, you get this little kind of S shape going on. So this is essentially the trapezius coming in here, and I'm just going to treat it kind of like as a single idea. You can then see, you can see the shadow of it there too, right? Same on this side. We've got this coming this way, coming down this way, and then kind of coming down to there, right? So look at the way now we can see C7 and T1, the 2 vertebrae where we connect the neck and the rib cage, right? Cervical 7 and thoracic 1, right? Those 2 are right here. How we can see those is look how the trapezius thins out in this area here and here. And then that kind of reveals those 2 vertebrae, and that tells us, okay, that's where the rib cage ends and the neck kind of begins, right? So it's useful. Once again, it's just, you know, it's a need to know, want to know basis, right? This little bump that you can see sitting in here is teres minor. Get yourselves an anatomy book, open it up, and take a look at the scapula. If you know, this could be a very useful time to have an anatomy book at hand, so that you can try and make sense of some of the confusion that's going on there. So you're not just mindlessly drawing a series of squiggles and kind of hoping that they land in the right place, right? You can also then, if you have a little bit of an understanding, you can make choices on what it is that you are or aren't going to show, right? Like, I can't even see this here. This is the latissimus coming down this way, and coming down and connecting with the oblique. I can't really see it on the model, to be honest, but it's a really useful subdivider. So I'm going to draw it regardless of the fact of whether I can see it, right? Okay. Yeah, definitely worth going on Amazon, getting X-ray specs, Rick. They're worth every penny, for sure. Let's move on to the next phase. So, iliac crest. So oblique, rib cage, oblique, rib cage coming up to the latissimus, coming up this way. Something like so. And then, yeah, we've got the gluteus. So we're coming down to what is essentially the great trochanter. See our sacral dimples, super important landmark. That's good to hear, Rick. Thank you. Appreciate it. Glad it's, for once, this stream is sounding good. Okay. Let's have a look at this arm. Tricep. Something there. And we've got the long flat passage of the deltoid there. And then where it meets up with the trapezius here, we've got compression. Right. And coming up to the occipital ridge up there. Not crazy about that shape. It's actually this shape that's the issue. Maybe we can tweak that. Yeah, let's fix it. better. Not perfect, but a little bit better. Take care, Margot. And you have a lovely weekend too. You're very welcome. I'm going to assume that there's sarcasm in that last comment. I don't think we don't want more pain. This is not an ASMR channel, Rick. I don't think we want necessarily more drawing sounds. Is there too much of that? So I can never tell with you, Rick. Yeah, try something in here. Let's switch gears. So once again, trapezius. And we're coming up to the deltoid. Hey, is there anyone who knows about audio? If anyone on the stream knows about microphones and the difference between dynamic and compressed, what do you call it, condenser mics? Because here's the problem I have, is I can't use a condenser mic on this stream. Which is why I have to use the lavalier. But I would love to have a mic, a dynamic mic, somewhere in this setup, that it doesn't matter whether I'm facing it, that you get a good sound. Because the problem with condenser mics, and I have some fantastic, well, relatively really lovely condenser mics for musical instruments, but I've tried them for this, and they're too directional, right? Oh, you don't hear any drawing noise. Well, that's good. You know why? I'll tell you why, actually. I turned on a filter on OBS, a denoise filter, because I think you used to be able to hear me drawing. And I turned it on because to get rid of hiss on the microphone. It's also got rid of a lot of the analog sound, let's say. Maybe too much. Maybe it's too clean, so to speak. Anyway, yeah, it's because you watch like most podcasts and that type of thing on YouTube, and you'll see people typically sitting there with essentially a condenser mic in front of their face, right? But it's always like right in front of 6 to 8 inches from their mouth, and they're always talking into it. If they move their head, you would notice a huge difference in sound volume. So then you have to use something called a dynamic mic, which picks up, it's more multi-directional. But I'm not sure if that's the way to go. The sound quality is quite clean. It's an improvement on my end. Honestly, no noise. Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear it. yeah, there's definitely been a noise reduction. I was quite pleased with myself when I found that particular filter. But there is the fear of things getting too clean, if that makes sense. Anyway, I'm rabbiting because I'm I'm talking too much. Anyway, you get the point. You're like, just shut up and draw. No one cares about your problems with microphones. Fair. It's fair. Good to know, Lulu. Well, it is funny you should say that. Yeah, well, that's why I'm using a lav mic, Rick, because they're much less, you know, they're much more forgiving. But it would be really nice to just have a mic sitting about here and for it to be able to pick up everything. But maybe it's just lav and I just have to, that's that. I don't know. All right, it's core shadow time, I think, almost. I'm gonna try and draw some ears. No, I'm not making a giant subwoofer. So it reminds me of this this time I was living in an apartment with a neighbor that was just annoying me, let's say. We're putting it diplomatically. And I was considering, because they were so noisy, and I was thinking, okay, I want to retaliate, but without them knowing. And I was thinking, comes to the huge subwoofer thing, I was thinking to just making a huge subwoofer, pointing it at their wall, and it would be something that like they wouldn't really necessarily be able to hear, but you know, just stuff would be falling off the shelves kind of thing. Anyway, there you go. Yeah, we should rename the channel Shut Up and Draw. Okay, I'll do that. Anyway, those were back in my feistier days. But I always thought it'd be quite funny to do that. So once again, we got this scapula, this one especially, her right side is really pushing up against this center column. Yeah, pretty much. That's it. Yeah, I don't know, Rick. This is where I need a sound engineer to, yeah, kind of, problem solve with me. Core shadows. So once again, you really see this tricep kind of pushing in and coming out this way. Okay. So I'm just going to block in some of these tones, and then we'll see where we're at. So this is really a case of, when you look at the reference, you can see just how much I've simplified from what we actually see in the reference. I think there's a lot to be said for that level of kind of simplification. If you try and capture every detail of what you see, you will inevitably just be fighting a losing battle. It's the pebbles on the beach analogy. You want to avoid representing every single shadow of every single pebble, right? Because you'll just end up with massive noise. So yeah, we try and simplify down to large shapes as much as possible. There we are. It's another 30-minute one. Oh well. Complicated pose, it does require a little bit of time. Let's do a little bit of smudging. Okay. Let's just hit this with a little bit of a razor just to pull out some of our lights again where we've got a bit muddy. And then we'll call it a day on this one. Highlights. Just knock back a little bit of this core shadow here and there too. It's just a little bit too intense. And for those of you drawing along with the reference, you'll notice I've ignored that secondary light source coming from this side, from our left. Because if you start putting in a light source in here, like that rim light, once again, it's going to just act as noise that's going to be really distracting. In my opinion. Okay. Call it there on this one, I think. Fun pose. Really expressive model. Really like the way that she's very kind of aware of how she uses space, which is really nice. All right, next pose. Oh, this is a nice one too. So once again, I am going to defer to the torso version rather than the full body. The full body being obviously the first pose in each one of these, and the close-up being the second. You treat your object shadow and cast shadows as the same value initially and then separate them later. I think, yeah, Rick, because obviously generally speaking, cast shadow is going to be darker than the volume, the form shadow. But yes, I would start off with everything in the same tonal range. Just divide what is in light, what is in shadow, regardless of whether it's a cast shadow or reflected light or core shadow. Kind of, well, the core shadow itself you can hit a little bit darker, it's useful. But as far as cast shadow or the shadow of the form turning in space, I think at least treat everything in the same value. Then you can go in and find your darkest darks. So for example, I won't belabor the point, but just if we look at, like, for example, this area in here, I've got core shadow, I've got reflected light, core shadow, reflected light. I know you can't see this. Maybe when you get home, you can see it, or maybe you're home, you can see it now, I'm not sure. But we've got cast shadow in here. So there is a cast shadow, right? It's sitting in here. It's a darker dark, right? Sitting in this area here. And I can put that in now as a darker value. much easier to do that rather than trying to like map it initially, right? Okay, like this is one, and then I'm thinking, no, think of this as an entire area. Then you can go in and say, okay, well, actually I've got some cast shadow here. Okay, I've actually got a bit of cast shadow in this area here, for example, right? I could start going in and putting in more cast shadow in the form here, or, you know, getting into another tonal range. But much more important to establish those large ideas. Just simply ask yourself, what is in light, what is in shadow? And do it in a very kind of almost poster graphic kind of way. Shadow map. Keep your shapes large. We've got a ton of separate, smaller halftones in here, which you can see I've completely ignored. If I was doing a huge, let's say, you know, almost life-size painting, then I would probably start getting into some of these muscles of the scapula, for example, and the halftones in the lit side of the form. At the scale I'm drawing, it would just be too much, right? Comes back to that idea of the scale and how much we can say at a particular scale. Once again, look, it's not to say you couldn't, but this is well, it's turning into a 40-minute drawing, 40-minute drawing. It's all relative, right? So I'm trying to find a balance. Point being is, though, think in the most graphic terms possible to start with. What's in light, what's in shadow. Then you can get into your darker darks or your highlights or your lighter lights. And also the same, if you're just looking at the lit side of the form, right? The halftones in the lit side of the form, even though some might be lighter than others, right? Some of those halftones might be quarter tones, for example, right? Or 2/3 tones. No, keep all of your values the same. So, you know, you might end up with a painting or a drawing that essentially has a 5-value system, right? Even though in the photo or in the model that you're looking at in front of you, there might be far more values than that. There could be double or triple that amount. But you won't be doing yourself or the drawing any service by trying to represent all of those different value ranges. Kind of comes back to the idea of you know, using like a music analogy, right? You don't try and use every single note in every single song, right? Sometimes what makes the song strong or gives a song strength is you're only using 5 notes, right? And it's the combination of those 5 notes and how you bring them together, and that creates strength and harmony, rather than trying to, I'm going to use a little bit of everything because that's what I see in front of me. It's weird that it doesn't work like that. You'll actually hurt the drawing the more faithful you are to reality, if that makes sense. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. Mila, buenas tardes, or buenas noches. Hope you're doing well. Good to have you along. Okay, let's move on to the next pose. Now this is in my opinion, a very interesting pose, because of the way that she, you know, when we normally look at a model, this is a very simplistic analogy, but you know, we're normally thinking, okay, upper torso, lower torso, and we're normally thinking about like, okay, rib cage is coming out, going down. But what we've actually got here is a model that's doing the opposite of this. So what, you know, we're thinking of it in this terms, right? Like, no, what we've got going on here is this, right? This is a terrible explanation, but we're going to be focusing on this relationship between here and here because it's slightly unconventional. We don't usually see this type of pose. Anyway, I've probably just made that more complicated than it needs to be. Anyway, I'll explain it as I go along. Oh yeah, you know, like, well, that whole thing about notes and that is, it's probably before Beethoven's time. Bach used to do that stuff too. I'm sure it's been going on since the dawn of time. It feels like almost like things are a little bit backwards in this next pose, right? Like, if that makes sense. Anyway, let's get into it. Fresh pencil, I think, is required. And obviously a fresh timer. All right. So. Much harder to do poses like this because you don't have the easy dynamics of tension on one side and extension on the other. This is going to be a challenge. Anyway, let's see. Look how pronounced the manubrium and where the clavicle meets the manubrium is. Beautiful. This is one of the reasons I picked this pose. But it's going to be tricky. All right, so let's find a manubrium. Sitting about here. Clavicle coming up this way. Head of the humerus is going to be sitting about there. This one going out this way. Center line almost going just kind of straight down, right? Once again, a kind of divergence from what we normally do. And her arm's kind of coming towards us. This is also unusual, right? In a pose like this. So this is kind of coming in this direction. Yeah, music is a bit of fun, huh? Do this for now. This one's kind of going away. So clavicle, pectorals pulling down further than it would feel normally because these arms are coming forward and pulling the pectoral down, creating a longer distance than we would normally have between the clavicle and the pectoral muscle. Let's put this in for now. Placeholder. Same on this side. Something like that. Wrist is about here. Yeah, our navel is about here. And we've almost got kind of this type of idea going on, right? Yeah, she's very likely ballet dancer, right? Well, I don't have the full version open. I think with ballet dancers, right, the clue is in their feet. If their feet are messed up, she's probably a ballet dancer. They do tend to go pretty hard. She doesn't even have that much volume on the breast. I'll come back to that and refine it. We don't want to overdo that. And coming in, oblique is sitting about there. It's a tough one. Thomas asks, "Hey Thomas, do you teach in-person figure drawing classes? So recently my first in-person figure drawing class with a new model. It was really hard." Yes, it is hard. All right, it's a different thing than working with reference, right? Great that you went there. Really important to go to live figure drawing if you can, if you have it available to you. But no, I don't do live figure drawing anymore, as others have mentioned. In saying that, I kind of do still at studios and stuff like that, but not for the public. No, you know, I was doing classes when we first came back to England around 2017, 18, 19. Actually, just before COVID, really, I was doing quite a lot of in-person classes in and around London. But you know, there were a lot of work setting those things up, and trying to fill the class was a challenge, you know, to every 6 weeks having to basically get a whole new group of people. And then rents in London were madness. So no, there's part of me that misses it. I do think that, you know, there is a lot of value to be had in that one-on-one interaction in person, obviously, but you can obviously reach far more people online than you can in person. So it's a trade-off. So yeah, the only time I get to draw in person these days. This is when I'm teaching a class and I sneak in some poses while the students are drawing. If people don't need me. I think there's a place for both. I remember when I was starting out learning figure drawing, I had teachers that were really quite critical of working from reference and kind of looked down on it, almost as kind of like being an inferior way of approaching figure drawing. And I thought that was, at the time I didn't know any better. So I just assumed that what they were saying was gospel and correct and, you know, all the rest. But I think that there's so many benefits to being able to work from reference that outweigh the negatives, that I'm a strong advocate for it. I'm a strong advocate for both. But I would also, I would genuinely say, like, you know, regardless of, let's say, what resources you had available, I would still say, you know, there's a place for drawing from reference as much as there is drawing from, in person. There are simply poses that you are going to be able to do working from reference that a model simply just would never be able to hold. I also, in my experience, I've rambled on about this plenty before, but I would much rather a student work from good photographic reference than a bad live figure drawing model. And there's as many bad ones as there is good ones out there, in my opinion. In fact, I've worked with fantastic figure drawing models, and I've worked with some terrible figure drawing models. So it's not always a case of exclusively it's a better thing to be working from live models. I don't think so. Not in my experience. And you know, we can do poses working from reference that you just simply would not be able to have a model hold in a live class. I know, Captain Obvious, but there you go. You know, Whitney, yeah, like, it's almost like all the force in the pose, concave, exactly, concave. All the force on the pose, like shoulders, everything moving kind of in this direction, right? Even this is kind of moving in this direction. And then this is, the upper torso, the rib cage is kind of getting pushed back in this direction. And then this is kind of neutral, kind of, so it's tricky. It's tricky to keep energy as well while, you know, while you're trying to get across an idea. I'm actually going to go to tie down mode because there's too many complex ideas here. I need to kind of it'll help me just get my head around certain things if I actually just bring some clarity to some of these ideas. So look at the clavicle. Like, guys, I know I sound like I'm just trying to hawk my membership, but for those of you who don't see the reference, there's so many beautiful ideas anatomically going on, like the mass of the clavicle and where it meets the manubrium, little subtle things like that that I'm sure as hell not going to get in a meaningful way. Deltoid. Oh. Now it's inevitable. Okay, coming around to the other side here. Deltoid starting its journey about here. And then tricep here. This will hopefully make sense when we come closer to the conclusion, because I'm sure what I'm doing looks like a bit of a mess right now. So the oblique sitting here, coming in, the journey continuing, and then the rib cage just revealing itself in there. Pectoral. And then we got the latissimus kind of sitting in there. I wonder if I could say something without upsetting anyone about this model. Well, by all means, Margie, whether you'll upset people or not is but you know, it's a free world. Say what you want to say. This is a tough pose, Mila. Yeah, like, what can I say? It'd be tricky. I feel like this is more like a man's body. That's okay. That's not a diss. No, look, she's. What can I say? There's obviously there's. I can see why you would come to that assessment. Look, she's got a lot of traits that you would usually expect to see in a male, for sure. Athletic. But you know something, and look, once again, I think there are some poses that tend to exhibit certain things more than others, but you know, I think that there are other poses that tend to, you know, showcase different attributes, let's say. What I like about this model in particular is her ability to use her body in a way that is a little unconventional, let's say. She has a sense for posing which is not stereotypical, if that makes sense. We're making progress, slowly but surely. You know, with all of the poses tonight, there is this kind of these different type of ideas and subtleties that we're trying to, you know, we're on our guard for, which are not, you know, stuff that we necessarily normally have to deal with. Triceps, trapezius, sorry. Hips too low. I don't think so, actually. Boku, I know it's easy for me to say, using it as a cop-out. Maybe I could pull this line up to about here. But you really would need to see the pose. She is extremely long in the torso in this pose, partly because of, as we were talking about before, the concave nature. Because you see, when we do a normal torso, upper lower torso, we normally have this extension and compression, right? That makes the subdivision of the two very easy to see. Here, because of the concave nature of this pose, it's making the torso feel even longer, so to speak. But fair enough. I would encourage you, Belka, to be a member, and you can see the reference, and then you can make your own mind up. But you know, that's just, yeah. Okay. So let's get some tone into this sucker. But it's very kind of, I don't think we've done a pose like this before, where there's such a concave nature to the relationship between the upper and the lower torso. Now, here's my dilemma. I'm not crazy about the light source. And I'm wondering what I want to do here. I think I'm going to go with a conceptual light source. Because I'm not digging the dominance of the secondary light source, at least for our purposes. Okay, let me see. Yeah, I'm going to just create neon. I ordered newsprint in general 6Bs. Nice. Welcome to the dark side, Mia. Welcome. Tanaka says, enjoying the body, I personally find that simply depicting the sternum and pelvis as two circles is easier to understand than a box. What do you think? Well, I think that that's fine. Ultimately, you know, some people use boxes, some people use spheres or eggs, depending. Whatever gets you to the finish line. As long as you're thinking three-dimensionally, I think that's really what is most important. But really, whatever kind of gets you there. But I tend to, you see, here's the thing. I think that I'm trying to do both, in as much as I start with a box, say, for the rib cage, and then within that box, I put the, let's say, an egg shape for the rib cage. So, because I find that when I'm trying to find the overall relationship, like, let's say, the overall, you know, horizontal, vertical relationship between the upper and the lower torso, I find that easier to do with boxes than with spheres. But you know, and then I subdivide that into a sphere, right? But really, if that's what's working for you, then that's there's no right or wrong kind of way. Yeah, fascinating pose, this. And it's unconventional, you know? That's what I like about it. It's just not the type of pose that we normally do. So we're at 35 on this one. I think a quick little blend pass, and we're gonna probably call it here. And then maybe I'll just hit a little bit of darker darks. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not too thrilled with this, but focus. I love that. I discovered we can use our fingers for shading. My art teacher forbid that. It's a silly thing to forbid, in my opinion. You've got so much sensitivity and dexterity with your fingertips that it's a tool, in my opinion, that we would be foolish not to use if it helps with the materials that we're using and it helps get us where we need to go. To forbid anything seems to me to be missing the entire point. So, what do I know? All right, not crazy about it. Look, I think the challenge with this, well, sort of challenge, the interesting thing with this pose was that crazy relationship between the upper and the lower torso, which might not look crazy, but kind of was. And I think in that regard, I'm not satisfied with the drawing, but I'm satisfied with the process, if that makes sense. Could just go in and, you know, if we cared to, we could go in and hit some of our darker darks now. But I'm not that crazy about the drawing, so I don't think it really warrants it. But that would be the next stage if we were to continue. Not crazy with the light that I came up with for this, to be honest. Anyway, such is life. Let's move on. Oh, thank you, Amos. Much appreciated. Cookie Monsters, can you make a living from art? I don't make much money. Let's just say results may vary. That's like saying, can I make a living from singing or anything, really? Like, some people can make a very good living doing it. Other people will struggle their whole lives and never sell a drawing, like Mr. Van Gogh. Richard, how's oil painting going? It's going good, actually. Some failures, some successes, but it's going. It's going. It's moving, and that's really what matters. So yeah, fingers crossed we'll be on track for doing that in the new year. Take care, Boku. That was really difficult pose. I enjoyed it immensely, but really difficult. This one will hopefully be a little bit more straightforward. Where are we at? Oh, we're at 7 o'clock already. Crikey. All right, let's do this. I think that this next pose, we'll just do one more. I'll leave the last one up there for you guys to do offline. I'm going to do the full version of this next pose, and I'm going to do it as a 10-minute drawing. And then we will call it for today, okay? Rick says, I keep hearing that drawing the human face head is the hardest thing. For me, figure is much harder. What's up with that? Depends. I think it depends on, there's a number of things that depends on. It depends on your approach, it depends on your expectations for each. There's too many variables, you know. I find the figure much easier than faces. What subject are you painting? I'm actually doing a little bit of trying to kind of, in some ways, get back to basics. But the idea is like a figurative painting. That's kind of the goal, and that's what I'm doing ultimately. But you know, the thing is with painting, I actually enjoy doing like little still lives too. You know, stuff like that. It's kind of fun. Congratulations, Cookie. I'm glad to hear it. Now you just need to try and make that happen more often. But if you can do it once, you can do it again. Yeah, she's quite something, isn't she, Nina? Absolutely. Alright, so we're going to do 10-minute pose. And we're doing just the second to last pose. I'm going to do the full version of this one, as I said. Then we will wrap a bow around today. Alright. Let's go. Now the hips and the shoulders are kind of moving in the same direction here, so it's something to be mindful of. Yeah, Heather, you may have missed the discussion last time. So basically, in the new year, and I'm not committing to when in the new year just yet, but we're going to do some painting sessions, where we'll probably just pick like one pose for a session, and we'll paint. And I'll probably try to do that as an addition to the figure drawing. Sometimes it might be a replacement for it, or it'll be an extra stream. So I know a lot of people are signed up because we're doing figure drawing, so I don't want to upset those people. But yeah, it's just a kind of a way of branching out. Maybe we'll even do still life at some point, you know? It doesn't have to necessarily be the figure. But the point is I'm trying to, I'm in the process of just trying to get my chops up just a little bit before I go public. I will say this though, I do not consider myself a painting instructor or anything like that, so any technique I use or anything like that is to be taken with a grain of salt. Yeah, well, one color plus white, that's fine. You know, I've been doing a lot of kind of underpainting stuff with just, I tend to use burnt sienna, and that's it. I don't even add white. Just let the white of the canvas do the job. Those are fun. Maybe we'll just do those too, you know, like we'll see how it all pans out. But anyway, that's the idea. It'll be a bit of fun. Thank you, Amos. Yeah, it will be fun. Yeah, we'll be all learning together. That's the idea, right? It'll be fun. Looking forward to it. Okay. so facile. So you guys know, so for December, because of the holidays and the Christmas period, there's only going to be 3 streams this month. There is obviously today. There will be, then the next 2 Thursdays will be, I think it's the 12th and the 19th. Then the next one is the next Thursday is the 26th, and I just figured, you know what, we'll all kind of take a break for that one, and then we'll be back on the 2nd of January, which is a Thursday. So yeah, just so you know. And I've tried to put that notification in as many places as possible, but if you show up on the 26th expecting a stream, you'll be disappointed. All right, we're getting close to the end. Yeah, it's been a good stream. Hope you've enjoyed it. Challenge, for sure. $9:43. All right, we are getting very close. It's really more of a gesture drawing than anything. All right. I am going to call it on that one. Where are we at? 10:44. No, almost did it on time. Good enough. I expect my rebate check in the mail. Wait, no, I'm sorry. Evan says, Richard and Patrick Jones, my figure drawing senseis. Well, thank you. I'm in good company. I'll take it. Patrick's awesome. Richard, perhaps a good idea to make a book about figure drawing. Cookie Monster, it's a fantastic idea. Something I have given a lot of thought to. I'm also under no illusions on how much work that would take, and I'm inherently lazy. So we'll see, maybe one day. Guys, that was fun session, tough one, but yeah, they're usually tricky, right? But she was great. You've got an extra pose there for those of you who'd like to do it. I will leave that up on the reference page. We'll draw her again. As I said, I had a really hard time even just like narrowing it down to 5 poses with her, because there was a lot of very kind of, let's say, unconventional poses, which I thought were really interesting. You know, another time. Guys, thank you for joining me as usual, and yeah, we'll do this all again next Thursday. We'll be back to our usual slot. In the meantime, I believe, at least for me, it's Friday night, time to go and relax. So wherever you may be and whatever you might do, have a wonderful weekend. Look after yourselves, and I'll see you all next week. All right, guys, take care. Cheers. Bye.
I'm